How's it going, LaunchBox community? My name is Brad, and this is the LaunchBox 5.9 feature showcase. So this isn't the first time we are doing a video for a LaunchBox update, but this is the first time that I'm doing the video for a LaunchBox update. So first things first, when you launch LaunchBox, you may now notice that there is a loading bar to begin with. Instead of it just being blank until LaunchBox loads, it tells you a little bit about what it's trying to do and a loading bar. So that is the first cosmetic difference and update in 5.9. So if you're already enrolled in beta updates for LaunchBox, you may already know about this little feature that's been here for quite some time. But in case you only get regular stable updates or you just don't know about this, there is a changelog in LaunchBox. So let's go to Help and Changelog. Here it shows everything that has been updated for 5.9. So you can see new feature here. So there's 3 of them for this update. There's a couple of improvements. And then of course, bug fixes, which, well, we can't get away from those, can we? So the biggest report that we've been getting from our users is that LaunchBox is not working through Steam Link or the Steam Home streaming service where you can stream from one PC to another. So if your one PC is powerful enough to run all your games, you can stream it to a less powerful or like a more media styled PC and still get your enjoyment, but at a different PC, maybe not at your desk, but on a couch. Well, unfortunately, there was an issue with X input driver support for most controllers in Windows. So if you've had issues with trying to get LaunchBox to play through like your Steam Link or something like that, update to the latest stable version of LaunchBox and hopefully that should be fixed up for you. You should be able to now control Big Box and your games through your Steam Link. We also do want to point out that unfortunately, due to a Microsoft update recently, we believe for mostly Windows 10 users, if you have multiple controllers plugged into your computer at once or hooked up wirelessly, you may get some undesirable, let's say unintended features, shall we? So if you have any crashing or any odd behavior or issues, we know about most of them. But if you head on over to our forums or our Bitbucket, both links will be in the description below. You can report any errors that you get if you have multiple controllers plugged in at the same time. Now, we only believe that this is the case with Xbox One controllers, but this may be the case with Xbox 360 controllers, PS3, and PS4 controllers on Windows 10. It may also be a Windows 8 issue. It may happen to Windows 7 eventually. We don't know. But for now, we do know that it is relegated to Xbox One and Windows 10 users. So if you get any of those bugs, please let us know. We are trying to cut down as many of them as we can. But unfortunately, until Microsoft fixes the problem on their end, what we can do is only band-aid measures. Another gigantic improvement that we've been seeing users having issues with is when deleting a platform in the past, it didn't delete the games along with it in LaunchBox. When you would delete a platform, all your games would still be in LaunchBox. So when a user would go to re-import all their games, LaunchBox wouldn't import anything because they were all still there. So instead of deleting your games and then a platform, now when you delete a platform, LaunchBox should pop up and ask you if you also want to remove the games within LaunchBox. It's a big improvement that I know a lot of users have been asking for, so I am glad to report that it is finally available. The rest of this video will be relegated to 3 big things that we needed to cover. If you've been following LaunchBox development for a while now, you know that we've had video playback available in LaunchBox. In order to get videos, you do need an Emu Movies premium account, but either in this edit game wizard or if you Control-A to highlight all your games and use the download metadata and images option, Once it parses emu movies, you'll notice that there are a few new options. Now, music, I believe, should show up if you don't have an emu movies premium account, but don't hold me to that. I could be wrong, but I believe you don't need one for music. However, you do need an emu movies premium account for video to be downloaded. And you can see this black box here on the right. If a game does have a video, there are a few ways that it can play. So if we go to Tools, Options, on the left here it says Videos. So what I'm using is the VLC video playback engine. This should be default, and this is the recommended playback engine. But if you're having issues with VLC for whatever reason, we do offer Windows Media Player playback engine for a backup just in case some users need it. Now, if you have Windows 7, 8, or 10, this does require Windows Media Player to be activated as a Windows feature. So if you previously disabled it, then you're going to want to use VLC. As well, you may want to download the lite video codec pack. On the forums, I've suggested this to many users, and this usually fixes any playback issues that a user generally has, even outside of LaunchBox. So it's actually a good idea to download the lite pack anyways, regardless of whether you need it or not for LaunchBox. But if you do use the Windows Media Playback engine, do note that if you have issues, that the lite pack may help. Now, if you just want to skip Windows Media Player altogether, then just use the default VLC video playback engine, which is, of course, like I said, the recommended option. Now, if you are using Windows Media Player and the video is not auto-playing for you in the right-hand game details box, then right-clicking it will bring up a right-click context menu where video playback options will reside. Otherwise, if you are using VLC, right now it is using just basic play and pause functionality, so just clicking on this black box will make the video play. So let's just click it, and there we go. This is Addams Family Values right here, and this is, of course, courtesy of Emu Movies, and you do need an Emu Movies premium account again for this to work. So if the video is not showing up in your game details bar, let's go to Tools, Options. On the left, game details, and here where it says show, and above it where it just says game details and these couple of checkboxes, there are a couple of things that you can add or remove to kind of customize your game details bar. One of them being video. So if it just doesn't show up at all, note that this checkbox may be unchecked. So if you want video to show up, make sure that that is checked. If you want the video to autoplay, let's go to View, and then let's go down a couple of options where it says autoplay videos, or alternatively, you can just hit Control-Alt-V. In here is also the option for autoplay music. And I showed you that, when we parsed Emu Movies, when we edited Addams Family Values. So I only have my audio or my music automatically playing and not my video. So when I click on a game, the music autoplays instead of the video. If both are checked, I believe video takes precedence over audio. That way, if a game has a video, the video is preferred. But if a game only has music, then it still plays the music associated with it. Then you can see clicking on the game, since I have all video disabled, the music plays for this game. Another big feature that users have been asking for quite some time is for games to be in archived, compressed format files. Before we get started, we want to make sure that the archive compression is turned on. So we need to turn that on per system. So we go to Manage Emulators, we'll go to Retroarch, and here it says extract ROM archives before running. So since my SNES is using Retroarch, that's what I want to choose for Retroarch. However, there's a reason why this is per emulator and not system-wide. Say, for example, you wanted to play main games. Well, if you had this option checked for either your MAME emulator or for the system-wide option, then it would try to decompress your main games and that wouldn't work. MAME requires them to be zipped up. So extracting ROM archives for MAME games would obviously break functionality and your game would not work. We don't want that. Not to mention, if the emulator already supports loading your games from a zip or a RAR file, having the RAR or the zip file loaded directly through the emulator instead of being passed through LaunchBox and then to the emulator is preferable. If the emulator already natively does that function, then that function is desirable over LaunchBox doing the operation instead. So if we right click and go to the games folder, you'll note that I have AD&D Eye of the Beholder in a RAR file. Now all my games are in the SMC file format here. The SRM is just for save files, so ignore that. The SMC is the game file though, and you can see that AD&D Eye of the Beholder is a 1 megabyte file, and RAR'd up it is at 549 kilobytes. Now, in order for this to work, you either need WinRAR or 7-zip installed on your machine to zip up these files. Now, we use 7-zip to decompress the files on the fly, but if they're not compressed, then no decompression will happen. Now, this is beneficial for saving space. Now, granted, I'm only saving roughly 512 kilobytes of hard drive space by RARing this one game, but if I were to RAR all my games in this folder, for example, I could save, a decent amount of space. So I'm going to right click the game. I'm going to go down to my WinRAR context menu item here and click Add to Archive. Now the archive format, I can select RAR, RAR5, or ZIP. All three of these should work in LaunchBox, and because I'm not using 7-zip, I don't have a .7-zip option, but if you do use 7-zip, the archive format will be .7zip instead. So I'm going to select RAR. We're going to select the normal compression method, but you can use good or best, or the best possible compression possible. If you use the store option, you may not save really much of anything. So if you're just going to use the store compression method, I would suggest not even compressing your games to begin with. If you are going to compress your games, though, at least do the normal, good, or best compression methods. That way you can actually save a little bit of space. Now, one drawback to using this is if you use higher compression methods, it may take the game longer to load. Now, granted, this is only a 1 megabyte file, so realistically, this will pretty much load instantly. If we double click the game, you can see here, it takes a second to load, but it loads relatively fast. The larger the game is, or if forbid you use compression on CD-based games, then the compression is going to take a long time. Now, Jason and myself do not suggest using this for CD-based games. We really do not suggest that. The decompression time can take upwards of 5 minutes to 10 minutes depending on your computer or the size of the game. So if you take a PS2 game, zip that up, and then try to decompress it every time you want to play, that's going to take significantly longer for your game to boot up. So for the best case use, we do suggest using the compression method for up to the NES, the Genesis, the Game Boy Color. The Game Boy Advanced and N64 games are getting up there, but they're not disc-based, so you may have longer load times if you choose to compress those systems, but that might be the max that we honestly suggest zipping up or archiving, which would be GBA and N64. PS1, Saturn, PS2, GameCube, we sincerely do not suggest RARing those up. However, you still can RAR them up if you choose to do so. But again, we suggest not to. One thing is, if you do feel like RARing up your games, but man, I already imported all my games already, I really don't want to have to edit them. Well, if I come over here to Adam's Family Values, you'll notice that it is pointing towards the SMC file. If I come back over here to AD&D, Eye of the Beholder, you'll note that I have it pointing towards the RAR file. Well, I went ahead and RAR'd up Adam's Family Values, and then I went ahead and deleted the SMC file. So you can see that there's only Adam's Family Values.rar. There's no .smc file. So, Eye of the Beholder, I was pointing towards the RAR. So even with the SMC file available, obviously it was using the RAR. But I RAR'd up Adam's Family Values. I didn't change the location for the game, but double-clicking the game, and as you can see, the game boots up. So, if you already imported all your games and you RAR all of them up separately, they all need to be in separate archives, then LaunchBox should intelligently, automatically know that the game is not a regular file anymore and is, however, a zip or an archive file. One last new feature, and this is probably easily our biggest feature to date. So you may notice that there is a cloud button here in the context menu for LaunchBox, and clicking that, you'll see that there's 3 new options in here. It's disconnect from the LaunchBox games database, sync to my collection, and browse my collection. However, that's how it looks like to me, but for you, it should just show connect to the LaunchBox games database. Clicking that will offer up the sign in for your LaunchBox games database account. If you haven't registered for an account, clicking register for an account will take you to the registration page. Once you've successfully registered and logged in, LaunchBox will specify that you've successfully connected to the LaunchBox games database. Would you like to sync your collection to the cloud now? I've already uploaded my collection to the cloud, so on the LaunchBox games database website, in the top right, it says My Collections, and if we click that, you'll see Default Collection here. Clicking that will bring me to a collection showing all of the games that I uploaded to the cloud at the time. But you may notice that my 3DO Interactive only has 2 games, and if you've been following the tutorials, you'll know that I've got more than 2 games now. So if you've already uploaded your collection to the cloud but need to make changes or update it, go to the cloud option and then sync to my collection. Okay, so for me, the process is finally done. This process will take some time depending on your internet upload connection and the size of your library. So the slower your internet connection, or specifically your upload connection, the longer that this process can take. So with that done, let's view our collection. And as you can see, my 3DO games are all finally back in. And if you want to view some information on the game in the collection, just click on it and it will give you some options. You can rate it, remove it, or go to the page in the database for it so that you can edit its values if need be. Now, this is all well and handy, but what if you want to manually add games to the database? Well, let's go to Manage Collections in the My Collections tab. I've already added a physical collection page. Just click Add New Collection and you can name it whatever you want. And it's empty for me, so let's add some games to it. So I've navigated over to the .hack infection game. So I'm going to click Add to Collection, my physical collection. Back in my physical collection now, we have the PlayStation 2 section here on the left, and then the game here on the right. And I can go through and add all of my physically owned PS2, GameCube, PC, PS3, PS4 games, all that jazz, since I am an actual game collector as well as a digital games collector. Then, of course, like I said, you can share this link with friends, post it on Facebook, on Twitter, and share your geekiness with all your friends. Now, the feature set is kind of limited with the collections right now, but Jason is working hard to expand these for future use, and there are going to be new things to come related to the My Collection. And of course, this is actually a precursor to uploading your data to the database. So if you are a big digital collector and you have manually set a lot of your metadata and images, the cloud and my collection features are precursors to allowing users to upload that data to our database from within LaunchBox. So that's going to be it for the LaunchBox 5.9 feature showcase. My name is Brad, and if you liked the sound of my voice, a link to my channel will be in the description below. I do lots of gaming content, so if that sounds like your cup of tea, I would greatly appreciate a checking out of my channel. I don't know why I said that weird. If you liked this video and it showcased a few of LaunchBox's new features to you and you liked it, please give us a thumbs up or subscribe for more videos in the future. I normally do RSS on this day, that's Retro Style Spotlight, which gives you news, notes, and history for retro video games. I also do tutorials every single Friday that help users get their collections up and running or understand features in LaunchBox that may be a tad confusing. So if that sounds like your thing, subscribe to us for more videos in the future. If I didn't cover anything in this video adequately enough, or if I kind of glossed over something a little bit, please leave a comment in the comment section below with your question, or if maybe I should have covered a specific feature, let us know. Ask your questions. Jason and I are more than happy to answer any questions you have on a LaunchBox. Remember, Freaks and Geeks, to play more games, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day.